formula for health is weekly therapies plus, and put a bracket, daily movement, daily mindfulness, daily nourishment, bracket, close bracket, times time equals health.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Welcome back to ALLSMITH, where we dive deep into the mindset, movement, and lifestyle practices that create high performers in every arena of life. Today we have a very special guest whose approach to wellness is as holistic as it is powerful. Dr. Bo Cicak.
Cicak.
I got the last name.
Good job, brate.
He's a chiropractor, a movement expert, and a biohacker who has dedicated his life to helping people unlock their full potential through a blend of science, movement, and recovery. Dr. Bo, welcome to the show, man.
Great to be here, my man.
Dude, I'm pumped to unpack so many different things with you, but first and foremost, you've got a great camera presence. I had to throw a hat on today because I'm like, I think Dr. Bo's hair might be better than mine.
Trying to do my best to stay healthy.
It's cool, man.
Yeah.
As you're getting older, we mentioned briefly offline, 36 years old, like, I really want to understand, because there's a lot of men out there that are really trying to optimize, not just like the peek under the hood as far as like peptides, TRT, sleep, recovery, consistent training, but like there's also a hair routine, there's a skincare routine, there's sauna, there's cold plunge, there's exposure to sunlight, there's breath work. But when I kind of word vomit all of these things, the consumer is like, click, I'm done. Like there's just too much shit to do. Like they're just genetically blessed. And what I'm curious about with you is like, you seem to carve out time for all of it. What seems to be like the starting point? And how do people kind of get involved in this realm of wellness and self-care?
So the truth is this, I'm not perfect. I don't do these things all the time consistently. And oftentimes when you look at somebody online, they're like, oh, this person has everything figured out. They're doing red light in the morning, cold plunge, da, 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 da. It's not reality. And I'm not like that. But when I am dialed in and I'm in my routine, I like to stack things. So if I'm on a phone call, catching up with a friend, I'm foam rolling, I'm stretching, I may have the red light on. Right? And I just think about how can I just do two or three things at once that are going to benefit my health and not make it a chore. So if I love to watch shows, for instance, and I tell my practice members, like, hey, your hips are tight, shoulders are tight, all that, like while you're watching Netflix or Apple TV, like just stretch and foam roll while you're doing that. So it's
kill two birds with one stone.
Exactly. So it's just thinking about like, oh, I got to stretch before I go to the gym. It's like, no, you get to watch a show while you stretch or sports or whatever it is. So just really thinking about how to make these things enjoyable and also be patient with yourself because it takes time. Like, for me, I was so resistant to taking good care of my body. I feel better at 36 now than I do at 26 because of all the things I've learned and I've implemented. And I have my, great stretches. I have my off stretches. But when I do the things that I know I need to do, I feel so good. And when I travel, slip off, sleep is off, stress, like I fall off. But immediately it's like, okay, I got to get back on it.
I love the authenticity as to how you explain that, because a lot of optimization of really beneficial health habits is kind of like hiding vegetables in an omelet. How do I do this thing while doing this other thing? Whether that's a phone call with a friend or a family member, watching a show, maybe sending some texts back that you missed for the day. But when it comes to mobility, what I've always heard is the best position is the next one. It's just trying not to be in the same position all the time. So like movement really is medicine, which you live your life that way, which is really cool. But also like not beating yourself up when you miss a day or you fall off and you eat the wrong thing or this, that, and the other. Like my mom used to love to say, don't be afraid to just start the fuck over. Yeah. Every moment is an opportunity to begin again. And so I think that's the beauty of a lot of what you're doing is you're giving people tools and then teaching them that like, hey, you can access these at the convenience of your own life, as opposed to carving out an absurd amount of time and trying to have 6 to 8 hours like LeBron James to incorporate your self-care work.
There's two things I want to add on here. This is the best piece of advice I've ever been given in my life.
Oh, cool.
I hosted a men's retreat. We had 13 very, very powerful men come down to San Diego. We had a connection to Paul Chek.
Oh,
we went
cool.
and hung out with Paul Chek at his house. 13 powerful men painting, hanging out, just shooting the shit. It was incredible. But one of the things he said is not too much, not too little. So with any of these things, whether it's like, oh man, I really want like In-N-Out or whatever the thing is for you, it's like, don't have too much of it, but don't have too little of it either. Mm-hmm. So if you're beating yourself up of like, oh man, I really want to have a drink or whatever it is, like there is a component of too little of it. And if you're, not scratching that itch for yourself, just do it. It's okay. It's okay to have ice cream. I like pizza. I like ice cream.
Nice.
Yeah, I eat it all the time when I get that desire for it. And I think when people look at people online with these images and whatnot, like, oh, this person must be perfect. And the reality is, I've been around tons of people that are in the influencer space, and they show one thing and it's like you see them in real life and it's like it doesn't add up. So just for everybody out in the real world, it's okay to not be perfect, and nobody truly is. Just do your best. Start slow, start small, and build up and work your way from there.
I'm so glad you're talking about this, man, because it creates an internal anxiety of like, man, like we're striving for the highest hanging fruit. But it's like, oh, maybe we don't have a ladder to get there. Maybe we don't have the tools to climb or the belaying equipment. And honestly, I think sometimes it's just go after the low-hanging fruit. And like you said, create those stacks, those micro wins, whether that's making your bed, doing the cold plunge, getting morning light. It doesn't have to be all those things. Maybe it's one of them. Maybe it's going for a walk on a phone call rather than sitting down. And it's like, you're totally right. It's unrealistic to try to be fucking perfect all the time. And those that are closer to perfect than not, from my observation, are actually not happy. They're doing things because they feel like they're a slave to a system. It almost becomes neurotic behavior in pursuit of peak performance. But in reality, it creates psychological attachment and slavery where it's like, oh, if I don't do that thing, I'm going to have a bad day.
Yeah.
And I've been that guy before. Like I did a 90-day thing of cold plunging. And I remembered like the 91st day, I was like, I'm not doing it today. It's raining. It's cold. Like I'll do it tonight after the sauna. Or, I'm creating these excuses in my head or whatever. But then I had this experience and the day was like, whoa, I don't have the tools within my toolbox to let X, Y, and Z stresses kind of roll off my back without doing the cold plunge. What happens when I travel? What happens if it breaks? Now I'm a slave to this tool. The tool is supposed to be of service, not to be something that you become overly reliant on. It was a very beautiful learning lesson that I experienced that I would love to like diffuse and share with you and others, where it's just like everything isn't everything and nothing also isn't nothing. It's like, what can you do that's going to allow you to be consistent? Because at the end of the day, compliance is the science.
Yeah. I'd say just start off with the basic fundamental things. And this is something we're working on.
What does that mean? Like if you were to like quantify like 3 things that people could do to make their life better now.
So let's look at it this way. You're a high performer. I'm a high performer. And, there's all these high performers and they go, hey, you got to get up an hour before and do the cold plunge, do this, do that, all that. And like, you have single mothers out there. You have students that don't have money. Like, you got to meet people where they're at. So
well said.
Let's meet people where they're at. What are some of the key things you can do? I'd say the biggest and the most important thing of all is get off your fucking cell phone, especially before you go to bed and before or after you wake up, right? And as you were just showing, no hunching over. Like this is the biggest issue that I see. Like when I walk around places, I don't look, I'm like, oh, nice shoes or nice watch or whatever. I see people's postures. And Bryce, it's a massive problem. It's going to be an even larger problem. So to anyone listening to this, we need more chiropractors out there. We need more physical therapists. We need more people that are in the space of like helping people with their bodies, because this next generation is fucked.
Forward head tilt, rounded upper back. And then what we talked about previously, the best position is the next one. But when you're addicted to the dopamine and the distraction of social media, X, TikTok, YouTube, everything in between, you're pulled towards it. And then as a byproduct, anterior chain, upper pec, neck, scalenes, everything's getting tight. And like I always make the joke, like if our eyes were behind us, like it would open everything up, which is nice. But then we'd be tight in the other way. But you make such a great point there for sure.
Yeah, and if you think about that, like you have so many parents that could just, my kids, whatever, crying, here's an iPad, right? Now they're hunched over on this iPad. They're still developing, right? So as you're growing into that position, you're starting to see changes in the structure of the bones, the muscles, the tendons, the fascia. And now you have all this dopamine from these screens. When you and I were growing up, it was N64 and, like Nintendo and like, things like that.
I loved N64, dude.
Yeah.
NFL Blitz, GoldenEye.
Yeah. I mean,
it's the shit.
It was incredible, but it wasn't this thing that like would suck me in all day long. I would go outside, but I see kids and they've had the life force sucked out of them. Like there's nothing.
Kids aren't outside playing anymore.
There's nothing there. And I don't see kids playing outside. And keep in mind, there's all these Netflix documentaries about you're going to get taken away, this, that. There's all this like scarcity out there about just being outside and being healthy, which I don't know if it's intentional or not. But
I like that you shared that. Like, I don't mean to keep interrupting you, but like when I think about that, man, like I grew up in the San Fernando Valley in LA, and there's like a cul-de-sac where we grew up, and man, the amount of capture the flag, hide and seek, we're riding bikes, razor scooters. We didn't have a pool, so we used to hop people's fences to get into the neighbor's pool because it was 115 degrees in the summer. But it's like, dude, all my jeans or pants had holes in them. Like I was scraped up and dirty by the end of the day. My parents didn't want us inside. They're like, hey, if you're going to play N64, like you get an hour with your friends or the neighbors and then get outside. Like we don't want to see you. We want to keep the house clean. We don't want everybody in here doing things, eating all the food.
I look back at like how kids are raised now compared to like for me. So I was born in Croatia. I grew up in Germany and then Canada, and I made my way down to the States. But even like living in Germany, I remember like, hey, Sunday, you're supposed to go to church. They would send us off to church. We wouldn't go to church. We would ride the bus illegally, break into a field hockey field hockey, center, and then we'd play soccer. And then we'd come home and be like, how was church? Oh, it was great. We're sweaty. Like my parents knew, like, they're not dumb, but like we had a lot of freedom, which is great. And I feel like now it's just like, hey, I need this child by my side. Here's this,
it's like helicopter parenting.
Yeah. And it's just, I am worried about the mental, physical, spiritual state of the youth and what's happening next. And, before I was a chiropractor and all that, like I was a gym teacher. That's what I did. I was in health and fitness. I was a teacher. And one of the stories I want to share, Bryce, is I remember it was, we did the mile run. Girl was maybe 12 or 13 years old. And, everyone's running. This girl comes up to me. At the time I wasn't Dr. Bo, I was Mr. C. And she goes, Mr. C, I can't run. I go, oh, it's okay. Just walk. So she starts walking, then she turns around, comes back, starts crying, like I can't walk. Okay. You pass the class. Your parents don't get notified. No one has a sit down about this. Life goes on. I don't know what's going on with her now, but at that moment I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, this is not, I need more influence. I need to make a greater impact because this is not it. Like I can't go over to the parents and to their house and be like, hey, like, how are you raising your daughter that she's, this overweight and not able to walk a mile at the age of 12 or 13, which if we're going to get down this rabbit hole is the master plan in America of how do you make billions and billions of dollars is you feed them poison, you give them devices to keep them addicted so that they're not moving, and then slowly but surely, sooner this child needs medicine, which is just a Band-Aid, which leads to more Band-Aids, more profit, and then you have the 30, 40, 50-year-old that's on 10, 12 different medications, and the money keeps going up.
You summarized that so well, man. And what's interesting to me too is that some people may argue that I have a biased, privileged American lens on this, but you've lived in numerous countries. You've experienced this from different cultures, different flavors of life, around different friend groups. And we know movement is medicine. We know that, Mark Sisson coined this with the Primal Blueprint, talking about like eat real food.
Yeah.
CrossFit did a great job of kind of creating the nutrition slogan of nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, and no sugar. And real food seems to be floating to the surface. But what is real anymore? Right? Like that gets politicized. It gets psychologically manipulated. We look at the onset of agriculture, and when mass production started, we started seeing more glyphosate. We started seeing more pesticides around our vegetables and whatnot in order to preserve them, keep the bugs away, and produce more. We started seeing people wanting to be full and fill an empty space rather than eat for nutrient density. Yep. Which, led to corn, wheat, rice, breads, pastas, things that later were fortified with more poisons. We've seen the floating to the surface of all the red dye that is now cancerous. We look into our meat population and we see the antibiotics, and we see trying to fatten up these cows, these chickens. We see them tortured. We see pigs tortured. We see them eating all kinds of feed to make them bigger and fatter for bigger cuts of meat, and then food dyes being used for preserved shelf life. And as a byproduct, then from there, people are getting sick. Yeah. And then when people get sick, they don't want to make the lifestyle changes, and those are not pushed by the news or the governmental organizations. As we saw during COVID, health was not talked about.
Oh, no.
Pushing for the vaccine was talked about because it was very, very profitable. And now, we've seen tons of Netflix documentaries around the opioid epidemic. And this story just goes on and on and on, which I'm really excited to kind of unpack some of this, peel back some of the layers on the onion, because it's just leading to this huge distrust in government. And as of yesterday, we saw the JFK files released. And now everybody's like seeing certain things in there as if we didn't know already. But if you just kind of observed and saw what was going on as far as just general pattern recognition, you could be like, okay, obesity rates are going up. Kids are not playing anymore, as we already alluded to. Disease is going up, and people are heavily reliant on big pharma, which is creating so much reliance on the government. And when you're reliant on something, you become attached.
Like you with your cold plunge?
You lose, exactly. You lose your personal freedoms.
Yeah.
And so when you look at some of this stuff, I heard something really cool today, and I'm curious your mind. In some ways, even though COVID was a huge problem for our society at the time and still continues to kind of sprinkle in issues, it almost saved our world because it created this cognitive awareness or noticing of like, something's not passing my smell test. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's like, say your workplace, home life, like let's just say there's just this like consistent mild to moderate amount of tension. Mm-hmm. And then you have, a blow up fight or something like that, or like a real heart to heart conversation, which is challenging. And you go through it and you're like, damn, like this really sucks. I can't believe, Bryce said this about me. And then as I like think about it, I'm like, damn, you know what? Like Bryce is right. And I can't believe I said that to him, and like you kind of digest and process, and then you come out of it and you're like, oh, I'm actually, I'm better afterwards. Mm-hmm. And with what we saw with the pandemic, for some people, that's what happened. Like they came out better because they got to get out of this mild to moderate tension control that was there, and realize like, this is pretty fucked up. Like, they've been lying to us. They're lying about this. God knows what else they're lying about. I don't know what to trust anymore. And why am I getting silenced on social media for just speaking my mind? Why am I getting painted, red or blue because I'm depending on my opinion about health, which has nothing to do with politics. So you start to see all these dots connect, and you just see like, okay, this is about money, this is about control, and they don't care about people's health. And what you need to do is just take care of yourself and realize like, there's no one else to take care of you, especially not the government. Like, that's not their job. Their job is to control and make themselves filthy rich. Like, I'm sorry, but that seems to be the truth. I'm sure there are some great people in government, but generally speaking, it just seems to me that like, people get up there and they don't do it for people, but
they have self-inflicted interests. And what's so fascinating to me is like, you and I are entrepreneurs. We're trying to impact. We're trusting our heart center and trying to shed light on the world with the things that have lit our heart on fire. And we've felt and seen and have hundreds of case studies as to how a lot of this lifestyle stuff works. What's so interesting to me is, at what point did health become left or right, red or blue?
It makes no fucking sense.
That's the thing that's so interesting to me around this concept of like, if you're healthy, you are wealthy. I think RFK Jr. had one of my favorite quotes that I talk about a lot. When you're healthy, you have hundreds of dreams. When you're not healthy, or you're sick, or you're battling a disease, you have one dream. And as somebody whose both parents have passed from cancer, that's so true, man. And you start to look at the world with some slightly different lenses. And what really alerted me, it was actually right before the pandemic, where I didn't fault the nurses. I faulted the system, where my father had glioblastoma, and I would finish coaching and training in San Diego at 8:30 at night. I'd smash coffee or a 5-hour energy. No, it's not good for me, but I had a goal in mind, which was to spend time with my father before he passed. He was only supposed to live 4 months. He ended up living 14. And I would speed up to LA, and I'd look at him, and I'm like, man, I know this guy's my father, but he had this life before I ever existed. So I'd ask him, like, hey, what was Vietnam like? What was this like? What was that like? What was dating my mom like? What was raising my siblings like? And we had some really cool in-depth conversations. And I realized that everybody has a story we know absolutely nothing about. And that's how the ALLSMITH podcast and brand was born. However, when he was in the hospital, he ended up going under for an emergency surgery to remove this mass in his brain that was the size of a softball. That's pretty traumatic for somebody that's 73 or 74 at the time. They removed this mass. He obviously needed some pain medication early on, so they had him on different forms of morphine and Dilaudid early on. But then it was like weeks in, and my father was a pain-in-the-ass patient. Hey, can I get some towels for this? Can I get some ice for this? He was needy.
Yeah.
Well, that's tough in a short-staffed medical system where nurses are already spread thin. They're working 12 to 13-hour shifts. They're completely exhausted and sleep-deprived. There's doctors fluctuating from all these different cases and trying to manage so much. The average time of a patient and doctor is roughly between 7 and 9 minutes. So what did they do? My dad was a pain in the ass. Hey, here's some more Dilaudid. Here's some more pain medication, because now we can make you a vegetable. You're not a pain in the ass, so we can spread ourselves a little bit more to the other patients that are also needing things. But we can also bill the insurance companies. And so it's like, I think the nurses were genuinely trying to do their best. They were stressed. You felt their stress come up. They made an executive decision to try their best to triage and create the best patient care. So I don't fault the individual by any means.
I mean, nurses, they want to take care of people. That's why they got into
They're very nurturing.
But then I know many nurses, they go into the profession and they're like, the fuck am I doing here? Like, this is a business,
It becomes more about sick care than it does about health care.
Of course, because that's where the money's at. They don't want you to be healthy. There's no money in the healthy with big pharma, and there's no money in the dead, so they want you somewhere in the middle.
Yes.
And that's why they want you to be sick, and they want to get you hooked.
And that's exactly the point that I was making, which is that just kind of created an awareness for me at that time. You know, I wasn't very political at that time. I was just observing the scenario specifically to my father and our family. I was like, this is off. And my brother's an emergency medicine doctor. So I was just like, hey man, like, can you take a look at like dad's medications and the dosage? He was like, holy shit, we need to wean him off of Dilaudid and get him more onto Tylenol over the course of time. Like, there could potentially be complications with this much Dilaudid. So he like interjected, and like, we ended up, you know, not suing or anything, but it could have been a medical malpractice issue. But that's where I really started to question the system, because it's like you have innate protocols. You have, hey, I give this medication when blood pressure is at these numerical values, but it's like everything that's measured doesn't always count. Everything that counts isn't always measured. Sometimes you need to just pay attention to the human and watch the signs and symptoms, which you're great at your craft. I mean, I've walked into your office like limping before, and you not only gave me an adjustment, but it was just like the way you communicated, the touch, the way you were able to palpate certain things. It made me feel safe for a moment in a world that didn't feel safe for me at that time. That's like 95%.
I mean, everything's energy.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're in a hospital bed versus like, you're sick, maybe you're in Costa Rica at like a, you know, high frequency, high energy area, you're Joshua Tree, you know, you're consuming all organic, healthy things, sunshine, like, you're giving your body the basic fundamental ingredients that it needs to heal. Mm-hmm. And that's how you get well. But if you're, you know, and obviously, you know, in a case of a cancer and all that, like, there's circumstances of like, yeah, it's gone too far and you need medical intervention. But the moment you start feeling off and you're sick, like if you take Tylenol or Advil or whatever, like, all you're doing is masking the symptom, and your body's always communicating with you. And I always tell my practice members this: listen to the whispers before it screams. And people are like, oh, you know, I just slept and then I woke up and I have a 10 out of 10 neck pain. It came out of nowhere. 10 out of 10. That doesn't happen unless you get hit by a car, right? That's the only time that would happen. Mm-hmm. But people are not in tune with their bodies at all.
They're not listening. Which is really, really sad, man. I want to jump in and kind of chat with you a little bit around the concept of, you know, we touched on some of the sick care issues, but I alluded briefly to the JFK files getting released.
So I don't know anything yet. Would you like to educate me on it, or?
It's just insight into how John F. Kennedy was assassinated. And there seemingly is a connection to the CIA. There's connection to different Soviet connections. There's connections to Fidel Castro and, you know, some of the private things that have taken place behind the scenes. I put on X yesterday because I'm a recent, like, really trying to get into X a little bit and trying to connect with people and, you know, take news in that way. And I started taking some of the transcripts that I saw from from the JFK files and putting them to ChatGPT. Yeah. I was like, hey, transcribe this for somebody, you know, of the age of a third grader to understand. And that was helping me, like, kind of digest and everything. And the big thing there was just like the famous Edgar Allan Poe quote, all that we see or seem is nothing but a dream within a dream. We're wearing a set of lenses based on the news that's delivered and the nutrition that we absorb. And when I say nutrition, I don't just mean the food that we eat. I mean the information that's being delivered to us.
The processed junk that you get.
Yeah. And so it's like all it did was confirm the distrust that I have kind of felt since 2020. Yeah. And it's definitely brand new news. It came out yesterday. But what I want to jump into is make America healthy again. I think that is so cool. And I don't view that as political. I don't view that as conservative or liberal. I view that as human. And what I'm curious about with you is, how do you navigate that? Right? Like, people want to color that in a certain way and say that you're this leaning or that leaning. It's like, at the end of the day, I want people to live a beautiful life and I want to guide them to their peak expression. In order to do that, I need optimal habits. I need optimal sleep, which in my opinion is the greatest drug out there. I want you to have meaning in your life and fulfillment in your relationships, in your workflow, and how you live your day to day. I want you to consume as much real food as you can and have maybe 15 to 20% where you indulge, but mostly in the form of meaningful relationships, not just closet eating by yourself when you're stressed. And I think when you combine all of those things with sunlight, with nature, and then, of course, a small integration of supplements. Purpose, for sure.
Moving forward. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Life, yeah.
I think, but that general recipe makes for a beautiful life. At what point did that and the American flag become conservative? Like, I don't view that as political at all. I view that as like dead center. This benefits everybody involved.
The Trident family taught me something really important this last year, that we are all a bundle of stories, both good, bad, and everything in between. All of their cold brews remind their customers that they are part of something bigger than themselves. I start my day with the Sweet Cream Cold Brew as I am prepping my mind and body for fitness, service, coaching, and podcasting. With various locations in San Diego, they offer over 14 nitro cold brews and a variety of specialty drinks. You can find the perfect brew and pair it with one of their treats from the Keto Bakery. You can check them out over at tridentcoffee.com and use code ALLSMITH to take your coffee experience to the next level.
I have no idea how wanting to be healthier is a political agenda. Like, to me, it's just the most mind-fucking blowing thing out there. And, you know, politics aside, like, let's talk about some of the key things that you just mentioned. So, very common question that I'll get is, you know, what's the number one thing I can do for my health to improve it? And it, like you said, it starts with sleep. So having a routine where you wind down, you're not on your phone, you're taking the right supplements, etc. One of the brands that I work with, I have a Sattva mattress. You leave a link for people. That's the one I've been sleeping on for the last few years.
How do you spell that?
Saatva.
Sattva. Very cool. Where can people find that?
There's a store at UTC.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and they're online.
So they can play with it in person in the local San Diego area and kind of find the one that fits for them.
Yes, and then there's they get 15% off with my code.
Cool. We'll include that in the show notes for sure.
Amazing. And honestly, like, I would get the Casper mattress, yoga bed, whatever. And after a few months, like, my right hip would hurt because I would just like sink in. So if you have neck pain, low back pain, or you're just generally like a bigger, stronger person, like, these mattresses are made
Sattva.
Sattva, organic. It's the key.
Very cool. Does it pair with like a really cool pillow? Since you mentioned
they
like
do.
the neck?
Pillow is a tough one. I have two of their pillows. One of them I like, the other one I love, and it's a firmer pillow, and that's what works for me. I'm not great at sleeping, like we talked about earlier, like opening up a business, all these ideas running through. So I've been working at it. You know, I got grounding sheets. I'm taking all the supplements, but I have 1,000 open tabs in my mind right now.
I also just want to bookmark you there for a second. I think it's really important to note, especially for all of you listening, none of us are perfect. And when you go through different seasons of life, there was a season of life, you know, where you were exiting sports or you were assimilating into this health and wellness San Diego community where it's like, you had more room for health and fitness, maybe more room for relationships, more room for indulging or trying new restaurants or getting out in nature. But then there's the season of life where it's like, hey, I'm actually really motivated and inspired to grow my business right now and positively impact the world, which means that like these buckets over here might not get filled as much. This bucket's going to get filled more. And that doesn't mean I'm a hypocrite. That doesn't mean I'm not taking care of myself. It's that there's 24 hours in the day and I'm one guy and I'm doing the best that I can to build this thing, to be of service, as opposed to like marrying myself to these things that they're not selfish pursuits, they're selfless pursuits. But it's very difficult to find that balance, and we're humans innately.
Yeah, and there's a quote I love. A man does not get far if he stops to throw a stone at every dog that barks. So as you're on your journey, and it's interesting, like I have felt my energy rise. I've seeing the synchronicities in the universe, everything's lining up, but I also see the distraction popping up. And the more I say no to the distraction, the more the opportunities open up. And I've just reached a point where, you know, rather than people pleasing and like, hey, I'll go to your wedding, I'll go to your birthday, I'll go to the, like, if it does not serve my purpose, I'm not doing it.
If it's not a fuck yeah, then it's a no.
Yeah, exactly.
And what's also tough is that, like, I personally think that it's really important to kind of draw a line in the sand and think, I don't accept criticism from people I wouldn't take advice from.
Yeah, because what you're going to do, you're a mirror for them, Bryce, right? Like, you're a mirror, they look at you and, you know, they may be irritated and like, there's something that you're doing that they know they could be doing, but they're not. So now they're going to like, you know, fuck that Bryce guy, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, you know, or fuck that Bo guy. And it's all good. Like, you know, that's just them on their journey. You can't, you know,
I've developed a sense of peace with it. I love that you mentioned the line people pleasing, because for years, man.
Oh, bro, I was the biggest people pleaser.
Same. And it's not for any fault. It's like you really want to love and help everybody. But then you realize, like, in the pursuit of peak expression, let's just say peak expression is the top of the mountain, we probably never really get there. And then if we do get there, it's like, oh, cool, we made it to the spot. But it's like, it's not about that. It's about who you become and the relationships you build in that pursuit. And sometimes those relationships don't last the entirety of the journey. Sometimes they're there for a little bit and somebody goes, oh, I want to go this way. Or somebody goes, oh, hey, I want to stop at this spot. Or hey, I want to meet this person. And if you're continuing to go, you're going to find maybe 1 to 5 people that want to be with you for the entirety of the journey. And I think that is the maturity of life, where you're not attached to those things. And you realize that, like, everybody's simply doing the best they can. And I very much have practiced the art of just letting go. Like, hey, if that's what you want to do, that's cool. I don't judge you anyway. If we reconvene later, that's cool too. But right now, like, I don't, that doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good for you either. So let's create a little bit of space.
Yeah. I think energetically you just create a separation. And if there's advice I could give out to your listeners, you know, what changed my life is I felt like I did not have that sense of community here in San Diego. I didn't have the go-getter entrepreneurs around me. It was just, you know, hey, we're in San Diego. We moved here to have fun. And I also have fun, just so you're aware. Like, I'm not always working all the time. Like, I will have my fun. I just have it in different ways now. And remember the not too much, not too little. Like, instead of going out every weekend, it might be like, all right, I'll pop out once every 2 months or something like that. Oh, okay, this was okay. And I'm good now for the next few months. But what I did was I signed up for Fit for Service on it, Aubrey Marcus. Yeah. And I just set my intentions of like, who is it that I wanted to meet? And the people that are closest to me now, like that's who I met. And through them, I met just the most incredible connections, like doors opened. And at that time, I you know, fairly new into chiropractic, building my business up. I was an independent contractor. And it was this question of, can I afford $1,000 a month for this? And most people are like, oh, $1,000, it is a lot of money. And it was a lot of money for me. It's, you know, $1,000 is still a lot of money. You know, I had advice from a friend. It's like, you know, what's going to happen if you put $1,000 into the stock market, but you never know what's going to happen if you put $1,000 into yourself. And that clicked. And this was a 12-month program. So 12 grand plus like weekly calls, book, you know, reading books, like fully being committed to this, and having 4 summits throughout the year where you go in, like you had mentioned earlier, some of the work you guys were doing at Josh Retreat, but you go in there and, you know, you do workshops, breath work, cold plunging, you know, static dance, all these things that get you out of your comfort zone. And then you meet people at that level where they're just open. And you're like, oh, I think we just became best friends in a matter of, you know, hours. Meanwhile, you could have people in your life that have been there for a long, long time. And, you know, you may feel like you're not as deep with them as someone you just met, you know, at a retreat.
No, that's so well said, man. Just taking the leap into the things that are a little bit uncomfortable and removing expectations helps to unlock like energies and just forces and paths forward that can really change the trajectory of your life, which is really cool. And I love that you mentioned dance, because my mom passed away in July. And I was lost, man. I was losing that feminine energy. I was craving some sort of connection. I was transitioning jobs. Everything seemingly felt like it was happening to me and not for me. Developed this victim mentality for a couple months. I ended up meeting this healer. And he and I did some deep intrinsic work, some breath work, some connections. And then later, I did a psychedelic experience with him and this tribe of people up in the kind of the Encinitas area, a little bit north of here.
What was the choice of medicine? And
so it was 3 different servings every 3.5 to 4 hours. The first one was sassafras, some sort of MDMA, I believe. Sassafras. Yeah. And then that moved on about 3.5 hours later to either 2, 4, or 6 grams of mushrooms. And then 3 to 4 hours later, you took your final dose of mushrooms. And there was different protocols and breath work and things in there. And I honestly felt very peaceful because I didn't go in with expectations. I went in just really wanting to seek to understand, feel better connected to my mom and to my parents who had passed, and less about like chasing success and business, and more about like, how do we create more space so it's not all these like really aggressive like flexion, but more like opening up to try to hold a little bit more sand. You can hold more here than you can here. And there was this one moment, and I think it's really cool to share this with you because I think it resonates, and I think it'll resonate with our listeners. Basketball was all about like flow, rotational movement and connection and playfulness. And then CrossFit became very linear, front and back, and very like aggressive, both very primal. But I just remember the original experience of the dancing component of this retreat where I didn't like feel comfortable by myself. I was like, oh, I want to hold like a hoodie or something. I was like, oh, I'm used to dancing like with a partner, with a girlfriend, or, you know, somebody that I met like dancing. And I was like, whoa, I'm like now reliant on something else. So I like did that for a little bit, and then I let go of my sweater that was kind of like keeping me safe. And then I felt very like open and exposed. And I was like, wait, why am I only dancing in this location, like close to my chair or my back jack or my yoga mat? I was like, what if I went into somebody else's energy and just kind of like played? So I went over there, and then I was like, whoa, I only have access to certain moves. What if I like played in different planes of motion, maybe mimicked their movement, and then went high to low and left to right and front to back and then diagonal? And it started to unlock just like, oh, wow, this is how I'm living my life. I only know what I know, and I'm not going to learn more unless I tiptoe into the lands of the unknown, connect with people that have had experiences way different than mine. And then from all of that, diffuse that, whether that's storytelling, podcasting, coaching, whatever the vessel of communication is. And it unlocked so much. And ironically, around that time is when I met now my future wife.
Beautiful.
I started enhancing my business. We started creating merch. We started like forming better, more meaningful relationships with friends and family. I was like, whoa, there's something to this. It's more than just the dance. It's allowing yourself to be unapologetically yourself.
I love that. And I have so much to expand on all that. So thank you for this. And I'll start off with the story. This is 2019, first summit of this coaching program I'm in. We just did a bunch of, high energy activities, lots of connection. And then we're closing it out with a static dance at On It Gym. And I'm there, and I'm just like, oh, I don't want to do this. And it starts, and I'm just like really stiff. And then, I start to hear people cry around me. And I'm like, why are people crying? Like, what's going on? And then I start to loosen up a little bit, and I start to move. And then I start to cry because I realize, like, why the fuck have I been so stiff my whole life? Mm-hmm. And I'm a very kinesthetic person. Like, movement is, it's my jam, right? That's why I became a gym teacher, personal trainer, chiropractor, all the things. It was a really, really powerful experience for me because, there's a bunch of people around, you're dancing, the fear of judgment of, oh, look at this guy, how he's that. But, since then, like, dancing's my jam. And I've learned your trauma is stored in your body. From my understanding, it is in your fascia. We have these fascial patterns that get contorted. You know, you got hit. Now your body, like, it wants to protect itself. You know, I just had this girl, like, she got into a car accident and excruciating neck pain, back pain, and she's coming in, she's getting better. And then she goes, I was driving up to LA and I was getting PTSD just by sitting there. And the neck pain, the back pain came back worse than before. And I told her a story about the zebra and the lion, and which is zebra gets chased by the lion, survives. What does the zebra do immediately after? Shakes it out of the system.
Oh, wow.
And then what does it do after it shakes it out? Goes back to grazing, chilling.
Oh, wow.
So when you get cut off in traffic in the morning, or that thing when you're 9 years old, you know, you don't shake it out of your system. You hold it. Your body creates this pattern in your fascia. You come to the chiropractic office or PT acupuncture. Hey, your left shoulder, these things are off. You're sitting hunched over. You know, you got lots of emotional stress. You got chemical stress from the poison they're putting into our foods. So it's this whole holistic approach, and there's not a single thing that will resolve this for you. But if there's one thing you can do, this is for everybody out there, this is free for you to do. Move your body. Don't you feel better when you go outside for a walk? Like, you know, make America move again.
Yeah, seriously. Another thing that's great about that too is, like, sometimes people want, like, hey, what's this super program? What's the one exercise? Walking is so beneficial.
Bro, I got one of the best shapes of my life was during COVID. I'm not an ab guy. I'm a lat and quad guy, but I was getting my abs during COVID because I was living by Balboa Park. I had nothing else to do but go for walks to Balboa Park.
That's cool.
For hours each day, and that's what I did. And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, got me some abs.
That's great.
They're gone now. They'll be back soon.
Dude, I love that, man. You're so well versed. You're in tune. You listen to the energies. You're very observant, which I very much appreciate. What was, you mentioned a little bit around childhood and kind of, you know, playing with friends and getting out and about. You weren't on iPads or technology. It didn't exist when we were kids, really. But what led you down the path of chiropractic care?
So, you know, my upbringing, we moved due to a war. So we were refugees. We moved to Germany as refugees. And parents they were handling their own stuff, so they weren't so available. So where I learned my morals and values from was coming home from school, which I would walk home from school. You know, I was like 6, 7 years old, walking home. And I would watch Full House, Family Matters, you know, Huxtable's Fresh Prince, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Jean-Claude Van Damme, you know, and Sylvester Stallone.
We watched all the same stuff.
Yeah. So to me, this like masculine figure, this hero, like that's what I grew up on. And I wanted to be Arnold. And I look at my life and it's like, bro, you became Arnold. Like you got yourself all the way to California from Europe to Canada. I was in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Didn't love living there because it's freezing cold. Like I'm a solar powered being. Like I love the sun. I want to be outside. And, you know, I met some great people there, but like that wasn't the space for me. So coming here, you know, starting with nothing, and now I've opened up ANIMA Movement Center. You know, you've seen it. It's a magical place. It's not in its final form, but Bryce, when I tell you this, like, it is going to be, if it's not already, the #1 holistic healing center, because we serve out of integrity and abundance, and I'm there to give people the tools, the ones that are open. I have people come in, they've been coming in with the same issues, you know, over and over and over again. They're like, okay, maybe they don't want to heal in this lifetime or at this current moment. That's fine. But when the person comes in, it's like, hey, give me the tools. Here's the tools. And it's like a kid that's riding a bike. You're holding onto the back seat. They're learning how to ride, and you just let go. Yeah. And that's my goal. It's not to like get all this money out of you and have you coming back all the time. It's to get you into a place where you learn all the things. So really what I opened up was a school and not, you know, a chiropractic office. And, you know, I teach the movement classes out of there. So for anyone listening, if you're in San Diego, everyone's first class is free. Bring as many friends as you want. And at the very least, you can come in, do 45 minutes of mobility with me. We focus on the joints. We focus on people that hold tension and stress into their fascia. If you've been hunched over a computer, you're sitting a lot. And I've had a 9-year-old take the class. I've had people in their 60s take the class. I've seen people's personalities change just after a few classes. Like people are just stuck, stoic, and then all of a sudden they start doing the class, opening up more. Like it's been absolutely incredible. It's 45 minutes of mobility, and then we do 15 minutes of breath work, a light amount, like the minimal effective dose, just to get that parasympathetic activation up. And people always report back like, oh man, I slept so amazing, because we add on the adjustment if you want to after the class. Now, instead of, you're running around this morning, Bryce, running around, like let's just say you got one thing to go to another thing, and now you're running into your chiropractic office. I got to get in and out of here quickly. Like, bro, you did not get your money's worth there. Like you got adjusted, and as soon as you walk out, that emotional stress puts you back out of alignment.
Totally.
Here you come in, you're doing the homework that I'm telling you you should be doing. You're doing it in front of me. You're doing it with me. And I'm living my dream because I get to stretch for a living, get paid for it.
Totally.
And people are super chill on the table. I don't have to, no bad energy. I get them adjusted. They get the greatest adjustment in the world. They're super open. People are like really friendly afterwards, and they're off. So I want to create an experience within my school rather than come in and out for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I love that, man. And also stepping in there is an energy in there.
Yeah.
And I think it stems from more than what you just said. I think it stems from care. I really do feel that you care, and you do follow up, and you post content that it's authentic to each individual experience, which is cool. You can hear it in the tone at which you describe the experience, where it's like you look at the majority of chiropractic care in America, and it is that snap, crackle, pop, get in, get out. It's like that's not really it. It's nervous system regulation. It's creating trust. When you create trust, the body is going to create a connection with the practitioner. That connection with the practitioner creates buy-in. That buy-in allows for your bone structure, your nervous system, your mindset to then surrender rather than always fight.
To feel safe.
And we're always in this fight or flight response for sure. I think what you're creating and building over there is really cool, and I just got to carve out my schedule so I can get my ass in there.
Bro, I need you to come to a class. You'll love it.
I really do love what you're doing, and I also appreciate the education, because you're not just, hey, here, do this thing and mimic me. You're giving people the tools for them to then integrate it within their day-to-day life. And even though sometimes it's painful as a business owner to give away too much, knowing that they're not going to always come back, it's beautiful though. Yeah,
but my vision with it is like, here's everything you need, and come here, instead of asking to be here once a week, it's like once a month, once every 2 months. I'm good with that. Like I would rather see a happy Bryce walk in once a month, like, hey, I'm doing amazing, bro. Awesome. Get you, great adjustment in and out, versus a weekly Bryce. Hey man, I'm so stressed out. My neck hurts, my sciatica, And then that for 5 years. And all that happened is like, I literally put a Band-Aid on you over and over and over again, rather than giving you the tools.
That's perfect, because you epitomize healthcare.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're not trying to keep a patient. You're trying to actually relinquish a patient, and then saying, hey.
I do want to keep them. I want to keep them as a wellness patient.
Of course.
And it's not, but not in a sense, the frequency changes.
Yes.
The investment changes, because what I teach them is the formula is this. You start off with weekly therapies, and then I have plus in a bracket, daily movement, mindfulness, and nourishment times time equals health.
Yeah.
So when you look at that equation, it's like, oh, I've been doing my weekly therapies, but I'm not getting better. It's like, hey, well, are you doing your daily practices? It's like, well, I am doing my daily practice, but I'm still not getting better. I was like, okay, well, how long have you had this problem for, Bryce? Oh, it's been there for 20 years. Okay, how long have you been doing this for? Oh, it's been 2 weeks. Okay, so if you put those two on a scale, which one weighs more? It's like, okay.
Can you give that formula again for people to kind of note take if they're watching?
All right, so formula is this. Formula for health is weekly therapies plus, and put a bracket, daily movement, daily mindfulness, daily nourishment, bracket, close bracket, times time equals health.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. I made that up myself.
I mean, it makes sense though, right? And I also think it's important to really highlight in bold time.
Yeah.
It didn't take you 2 weeks to become sick, injured, ill, lack of sleep, stressed. To equate that to, hey, I paid whatever fee to then try to get whatever result, it's unrealistic. But sometimes in this world...
There's a pill. There's a pill you can take. You just take this pill and it makes all the problems go away. You didn't know about that, Bryce?
With X, Y, and Z side effects.
Oh, no. There's no side effects. There's no side effects at all. Those commercials they're just messing around, which is, by the way, having those commercials is just the craziest fucking thing. Like, what reality are we living in? It's like,
100%.
Hey, you're low on energy. Take this pill. You may have suicidal thoughts and a heart attack. It's just like, what? Like, everyone has low energy. But I just
real quickly, because I've played this game before, Dr. Bo is completely joking around there. Don't take that clip out of context and then assume that he's actually saying there's a pill. I've played this game many times. That's not what you're saying.
Oh, no, yeah, there's the pill is you doing your work.
Yes, consistently over time.
Yeah, I just gave you the pill is the formula. And one thing I want to add regarding that, when I say weekly therapies, pick whatever works best for you. Mm-hmm. Right? Massage is amazing, acupuncture, physical therapy. You know, I look at chiropractic as the catalyst because it holds your nervous system. And if something is out of alignment in your spine, you need to open that up. And I feel like you get more out of your massage, acupuncture, PT, yoga, and all those things when you do have your spine unlocked.
Totally.
Not biased at all.
Yeah, right? I mean, you're biased though because you know it works. You have proof of concept, and when you look at confidence in the communication that you're pushing forth as your business and as a man, you have a stack of evidence knowing that this works. And so once you have that, it's pretty easy to be like, whoa, it's worked for all these different people, not just me. It's not just a personal case study, and it's not this fabricated study that's funded by big pharma that's just to try to get some sort of profit. It's actually working to make people healthy and getting people to be compliant with their movement and their therapies. So I'm totally in alignment with that, man.
Yeah, I love that. And I've been doing this for over 8 years now. Your skills, especially if you practice it and like you get more in tune with your energy and like you start to really feel everything and see everything. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I can see through everyone's bullshit, you know. Mm-hmm. I know when someone's lying to me. Yeah. I'm like, hey, Bryce, how much stress have you had in your life lately? Mm-hmm. I got nothing. I'm good. And
you could feel it.
I could either see it on you or I could, you know, before I even put my hands, feel it, or I can just, you know, I can feel your energy coming on. And it's just like, I've been just seeing the same pattern on people over and over.
What are the top 3 grievances or symptoms that people come in with to see you in modern day society?
Well, I'd say the number one thing is just the adverse effects of technology, of just sitting and being hunched over, which is going to create a variety of different symptoms from your head going forward, which now your head weighs between 9 to 12 pounds. When it starts to go forward or you're looking down, you start to increase the weight of that head by 3 to 6 times. So your, you know, neck and shoulders, those are your employees. If you ask them to work 3 to 6 times harder every single day over and over and over again, they're going to be annoyed and they're going to send you symptoms. And those symptoms may be lack of range of motion, tightness, pain, headaches, vertigo, numbness going down to the arms, low energy, inability to breathe because your head's gone forward. It's harder to breathe. So now you're compressing this whole system, your whole, you know, your innate intelligence, your chi, it runs through your nervous system. Oh, what you're doing all day is compressing it. So now from sitting, you get tight hip flexors, you're compressing your low back, degenerative disc disease over the course of time. Now these things happen overnight. But if you look at the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old that is constantly, you know, on this iPad or whatever, they're setting themselves up for big problems when they're in their 20s. And they may be having a spine of a 40-year-old at the age of 20 because as they're growing, they're putting so much stress and pressure on there. And one of the murals I've painted at ANIMA is you are as young as your spine is flexible. So I will have someone come in, they're like, oh, Bryce, you know, you're 35. Get you to do your range of motion for your cervical spine. And I go, hey, you're missing, half your rotation. You're getting to 45 instead of 90. How old do you think your neck is? Oh, my neck's like 70. It's like, okay, well, what would your life be like if your neck was 35 years old? Oh, well, I wouldn't have these headaches. I wouldn't have this neck pain. I'd be able to, look over my shoulder and all that. It's like, okay, it's like, do you want that? Here's the recipe. And then I just back off. And if that person is not ready to jump in at that time, I don't force them. I don't want to be your babysitter. But if you're ready to heal this and be young and optimize, I got you. Here's the tools. And that's my purpose in San Diego as of right now. And then I will be expanding just more and more online education. And like I shared with you, we're going to be creating health products and just all the things, because if you look at, what's it called? Procter and Gamble. That's the dark side. You look at all the companies it's connected to and just all the poison that's been put in everywhere. So if you can, make billions and billions of dollars of getting people sick, there's the other side of that, of making billions and billions of dollars of getting people healthy. And I see incredible brands that are doing so. And I do have a gift for you. So at one point, I do want to plug this in.
We'll definitely talk about that here in a second.
Because it's a great, this is one of my favorite supplements, but there's awesome health brands that are out there. And that's what I'm about. When I see a brand where the, founders or my friends are involved, they know hey, this is these guys are super clean, all the things, I'm all about that.
They're also trying to solve a really important problem.
Yeah.
More often than not. And it's fun when you get to know, people don't buy what you do all the time. They buy why you do it. And I think that's a beautiful component to entrepreneurship. And there was a line there that you said, some people aren't ready. Yeah. How do you intrinsically and psychologically, for someone that cares so much, let that go? How do you not kind of jump in and think, how do I create buy-in with this person? And think to themselves, okay, how much pain is going to be their version of rock bottom? Or do you ever have conversations with patients around, hey, what do you want your life to look like? You're doing this. And all these things are, okay, maybe they're making you money, but your relationships suck. Or maybe your relationships and your money are great, but you have zero freedom. You can't go snowboarding. You can barely walk down the stairs. Or you're so overweight, you can't walk the mile. What are the conversations that you have around creating intrinsic buy-in with people so they could understand they're living this way, but they're wanting this, but the two stories aren't in alignment?
Bro, so we have the ANIMA Movement score. So we do, and when you came in, you haven't seen this yet, but we have a score out of 100. We check your movement patterns, your posture. And one of the measures there is a confidence score. So I'll have people tell me, I can't shoot a basketball without pain, or walking, I have pain, or lifting up groceries, I get pain. And it's how confident do you feel in your ability to function, go through life? Oh, it's 10 out of 10. I'm like, bro, you can't lift something up and you're 10 out of 10. So it's really interesting, the disconnect that people have, that this is fine. It's okay for me to have, this constant gut issue, this low energy. Oh, it's normal because everyone around me at the age of 45 is like this as well. So this is just fine. But it's not. Bro, I've been aging backwards as of recently, just because I've dialed everything in. And I shared earlier, is my sleep is not even dialed in right now because I just have so much going on. But, mitochondrial health, peptides have been helping out. Naturopath, dialing in the supplements, all those things. And your body is the most powerful healer. So if you just give it the tools it needs to heal, it'll function at its best. And I completely forgot what your question was because I just started rambling. So
no, I think you hit the nail on the head a little bit, but it's just around creating buy-in with people. And it sounds to me too, creating buffers is really important, which is, hey, when, let's just say in this particular example, business is pulling us in this direction, what buffers can we create? If we're losing sleep, we're a little bit more stressed, we're trying to build out systems and protocols and a team and a budget. Okay, what supplements can potentially be integrated? And that's where I want to take our conversation next, is around supplements. They're supplemental to the formula that we discussed previously, which is optimizing habits and movement and nourishment and relationships times time. So it's not like you take these supplements first and they're going to counteract all the other stuff. That to me is just a bullshit narrative.
Yeah.
But when I think of supplements, like some of the major ones that come to mind that most people are deficient in, vitamin D and magnesium for sure. Just kind of the non-negotiables is what I want to discuss first, and then we'll get into like total human optimization. But vitamin D, magnesium for sure. We're seeing tons of great research, not just physically, but cognitively around creatine.
Yeah.
I love collagen, especially for joint health, specifically knee health. Some really cool things that I'm seeing there. Those are easy ones you can toss in your coffee in the morning. And then obviously talking about a little bit of fish oil. Yep. And, if somebody wants to throw in a multivitamin, cool. If somebody has, a probiotic or a symbiotic, like seed symbiotic or Fluorosport from Thorne, those seem to be really good ones.
And B vitamins.
B vitamins, very good for sure.
Energy production.
Absolutely. If somebody's looking though, like that's kind of like the baseline. But if somebody really wanted to dial in and be like, Dr. Bo, Bryce, like what are 5 things or 6 things that I could take? Because we could sit here and ramble off all the things, and they're like spending $300, $400, $500 a month on supplements. What are some takeaways that people can hear about supplements?
Okay, so I brought you. Where's the camera? Right there. Some mana. These guys, super legit alchemists. They've put together minerals from the mountains, from the ocean. You have shilajit. You have just organic minerals from the earth. Mm-hmm. And as far as cellular function optimization, I think this is one of the biggest keys, is that you want to start off with your cells having the fundamental building blocks to produce energy and health within your body. Now, if you go to Walmart or Costco and you see something on the shelf for $10, it's like, oh, I have this there versus, this, it is a little on the pricier side, but it's worth it.
Cheap is nice, but you'll buy it twice.
Exactly. So I got my mom on this. I'm getting my friends on it. The ones that, aren't taking it yet. That's why I want to gift you this. The shilajit, as you know, is going to help out with some hormone optimization. And bro, this is my favorite supplement to take. Like I drink it every day.
So if people were to take one thing, that's what you would suggest?
If I would suggest this. If we are talking about like take a supplement, if you don't have other aspects of your life dialed in, like start there. Don't spend your money on supplements. But if you're starting to do better with that, like Mana is, to me, this is the greatest supplement ever made.
Where can people find it?
Mana Vitality, and then we can leave the link. I believe they get 15% off with that link.
Cool.
And then we sell it at the office as well at ANIMA. Cool. But there, and then.
What are your thoughts on AG1? Athletic Greens. It's kind of been everywhere. Some people say it's great. Some people say it's an all-inclusive packet supplement. You just put it in water and go. It's great for travel. What are your thoughts on that?
This is from people that I know within the industry. They just did a really good job with marketing rather than creating a great product, because they don't want to have their stuff tested and, is it all like the greatest stuff? So that's the thing. Like you can see these products that are out there that are marketed really well versus some of these products you may not know of, but they're so much better. So that's where you really, you have to dive in and figure out like what are the better brands. And
but here's the thing, it's so hard.
Well, I would say this, like look at the founders, look at who they are as a person. What is their energy about? Like, what is their mission? What is their purpose? Who are they connected to and surrounded by? Like I
like that. Like get a peek behind the curtain to get more information gathering rather than just taking their word for it on a podcast.
Yeah. Like if Jeff Bezos were to create a supplement, I'm like, well, what's this guy after? He likes money, right? That's his main thing, And then if, one of my friends that like, they're really about abundance and health and they make something, and I know all they do is eat organic food and like really take care of their body and they want to help people out. It's like, oh, that's something I want to support. So to, wrap this up, I would take, I would take Mana daily. I would look at your gut health, digestive enzymes. If you're not eating things that are too clean, just to help out, probiotics. You mentioned.
I like Seed Symbiotic.
Yeah.
We don't have a formal relationship with them. I'd love to, but I honestly think that personally, that's one of the best symbiotics that I've ever taken, and like it's probably TMI, but like fuller excretion when you're using the restroom. I've noticed skin health, and the other thing I really like is the prebiotic allows it to go through the large intestine without getting rid of the probiotic. So by the time it gets to your large intestine, you're actually getting the nutrients that you need, which I very much appreciate. It's the one supplement that I've really felt a major difference with in comparison with vitamin D, magnesium, and fish oil.
Nice. That's good.
Those are the simple ones that I feel like are traditional non-negotiables.
You know, just
Free is the way to be. Life beats us up a bit and causes some bumps and bruises, but that doesn't mean we have to stay on the sidelines. This is why we've partnered with Kinnean Labs. Get back to doing what you love with this incredible portable device designed to get you back in the game. Kinnean is on a mission to move people from pain to possible with their top-rated red light therapy and laser solution, which tackles inflammation along with muscle and joint pain quickly and effectively. What I love is that it's portable and rechargeable, making it easy to actually incorporate into my everyday life consistently. It's small and lightweight, so you can throw it in your gym bag or work bag or even an overnighter. Kinnean's lasers and LED combo make this cutting-edge device extremely versatile for use with general aches and pains, as well as chronic back pain, arthritis, post-surgery recovery, endometriosis, and more. This has been an amazing tool keeping my elbows and knees pain-free for pressing, pulling, and squatting in the gym. Great tools like the Move Plus give me the freedom and flexibility to continue living life on my terms without limitations. There are a lot of reasons why over 15,000 people are using this device and rating it 4.7 stars and above. Head on over to kinnean.io and use code ALLSMITH at checkout to begin your pain-free journey.
What I realize is instead of telling, hey, here's 5 things to take, you know, the start really is go to a naturopath and see what are you deficient in, you know, if you're deficient in anything. And I found my deficiencies, instead of just trying to, you know, throw, you know, darts at a wall, it's like, okay, this is where we need to crank it up a little bit. You know, this is the supplements to take, dietary changes to make.
I totally agree. Like start with the blood panel, get a peek under the hood.
Yeah.
If you want to take it a step further, maybe a stool sample would be another really good thing to do.
Yeah. And I mean, and I did that a year and a bit ago, and, you know, I had dysbiosis, so I didn't have good gut bacteria, and, you know, but obviously being younger, eating fast food, drinking all the time, high amounts of stress, and like you think, oh, I'm fine. And to people, I look like, oh, this guy is super healthy. But on the inside, it's like, hang on, bro, like you don't even have enough good gut bacteria. So it really gives you a good measure, because once you start like cleaning those things up and adding in the right, you know, ingredients for your body, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I thought this was my normal like level of energy, and you start to like really dial it up, and then you realize like, oh shit, you know, I'm Super Saiyan now versus
totally.
Yeah.
Jumping a little bit deeper into the supplement conversation, we talked a little bit offline. We've seen Rogan talk about it. We've seen Andrew Huberman talk about it. Peter Attia. There was a moment there where they started to kind of get a little bit finicky with peptides and kind of dissecting them and saying this one's accepted, this one's not. Everybody's probably very familiar with semaglutide or Ozempic, which got the huge stamp of approval by the FDA early on, which comes with a fuck ton of side effects, which it's going to help you lose weight. But now we're seeing its links to
bone mass and muscle mass.
Bone density, muscle mass. Now we're seeing it linked to different forms of cancer. And so, you know, before you just jump on the bandwagon of, you know, hey, I want to lose weight, that's going to help my health biomarkers, press pause, seek to understand. It's still a very new product on the market. But what I want to start a conversation with is, you know, things like the healing component, especially for the gut, of BPC 157 times thymosin beta. We've seen really good correlation with sleep and natural release of human growth hormone by stimulation of the peptide or by stimulation of the pituitary gland, rather, from CJC 1295, from things like sermorelin, from things like tesamorelin. Let's jump into the peptide conversation, because now it's starting to get a little bit more prevalent and accepted worldwide.
So I'm for them. I've experimented with them in the past. I took a break for a while, and then just as of recently, over the last couple of weeks, I've been taking oral epitalin, which is to help increase telomere length. So for the people listening, think about a shoelace, and instead of it having the cap, the plastic cap at the end of the shoelace, it's kind of like frayed, and that starts to get damaged. So picture that within your DNA. They find that people that have the shortest telomeres are people that have high amounts of stress in their life. So say you're 30 years old, but you've had so much stress. So your chronological age is 30, but then you look at your, biological age of your telomeres, you might be 50 years old. Mm-hmm. So the epitalin helps to lengthen those telomeres.
Oh, that's cool.
And, Benjamin Button, age in reverse. So, and just experiment with that one. And I feel like, dude, once again, like my sleep's not even dialed in right now, but I feel fucking good.
And that's epitalin?
Epitalin.
Where can people find that?
Message me. Okay. Message me.
On Instagram, Dr. Bo knows.
Yeah. And then we've got the BPC 157, which, cellular healing, gut, ligaments, tendons, etc.
Rogan talks about it a lot for elbow injuries from jiu-jitsu, from grabbing onto the gis a lot, and the tendonitis that comes on the medial epicondyle.
Yeah. Yeah. So right now, I'm doing the oral. I'm playing basketball, so it's kind of hard to tell. Like, I'll go and play really hard, and then the next day I'm kind of it's sore. Like, it's working? But also just being patient with it. As I do more of the therapies, I know it's working. I know it's doing something, but it's not this immediate oh my God, I don't have any pain in my body. Well,
here's the thing with peptides, though, man. Being consistent with them doesn't always guarantee results.
Yeah.
But not being consistent guarantees failure. And that relates to anything. Taking them doesn't have all these side effects like all the other pharmaceuticals. Taking them, you mentioned, hey, I've been on them and then I've gone away from them. You didn't have negative side effects in your blood health biomarkers. But if you get thrown on TRT without any sort of HCG, you're taking some sort of, testosterone or any sort of supplements from the black market that are not doctor prescribed without looking at the blood panel. And then obviously jumping into things like Ozempic, opioids, things that are Band-Aids, they're going to come with a page bigger than this back screen of side effects. The way you're doing it is you're exploring, but also the risk is so much lower than the onset of reward.
Oh yeah, because you're not messing with your endocrine system to this degree of hey, I'm going to shoot a bunch of exogenous testosterone into my body. Rather than looking at the root cause of why do you have low testosterone, it's because you're partying every weekend. You're constantly on your vape, and you're not sleeping, and you're eating shitty food, and you're super stressed out. That's why your testosterone is low. So are you going to go and inject some more into now, and it's not going to resolve the issue. And I look at peptides as an accelerator for healing and performance. And what a peptide is, it's a protein that signals your body to either up or down regulate something else. And to finish off the stack, I also have GHKCU, which, I have a cream that comes with it, but it's also a tablet, and that one's for collagen. So this was the coolest thing. Just after a few days of starting the stack of the three, I'm my skin, it just feels so much smoother. And
that's cool.
Yeah, so I'm
got to keep riding that way for sure. That way it keeps you away from the Botox as well.
Yeah, no, not my style. I mean, do you know who's better looking than George Clooney?
He's doing pretty good, man. He's got that salt and pepper.
You know who's better looking than him?
Me.
Yeah, you guys. It's George Clooney the next day.
Well played. Brad Pitt's still looking pretty good.
Oh yeah, I should have used Brad Pitt.
So is Matthew McConaughey. All those guys are kind of hanging on for the long haul.
It'd be cool to see it's Lindsay Lohan, a few of these others celebrities that they went through their dark phase of addiction, etc., and then they just go and clean things up dietary wise, and maybe there's some surgery involved or whatnot. I don't know. But like to see this like youthful person like really down, and then like they're older, but they look better now than they
One of
were.
my favorite lines of all time is, I love a success story, but what I love even more than a success story is a success story, then you fucked your whole life up story, and then you became a success again.
Yeah.
And I just think that is so cool because it shows that like we can always rebound from adversity. And when I think about the development of ALLSMITH, it was like everything known to man went wrong. It's around the time when I met you. Injuries started happening.
Yeah.
My elbow didn't work. Went through a horrific breakup, all kinds of work stress, was trying to figure out my tribe, my relationships. I felt like everything was falling apart, and little did I know it was life teaching me so much. It was pushing me more towards spirituality. It was teaching me to let go. It was moving me into a different environment. And what I came to realize is that like, what is a smith? It's forging something underneath extreme heat and adversity, which is why our logo is the anvil. And when you think about that, like every person on the planet is either in adversity, just left adversity, or they're approaching adversity. It's like, whoa, we're actually all smiths.
Yeah.
And what I'm curious about, Dr. Bo, is what was the process of and the journey that led to opening up ANIMA Movement Center?
It was something you kind of brought up earlier, and for me, it's the wounded healer archetype. You know, like I've been through it in my life, and at this point now, I look at all those things as just the biggest blessing, because I would not be who I am today if I didn't go through those things. And the person I am today is a teacher, a healer, a leader, and I'm stepping into my power. I'm no longer, afraid to play big. Like, I know my power, and I'm going to do this. And anything I think and speak, I create in this world. And what I'm creating now is health and abundance for all. And when I go into ANIMA Movement Center, it's my school to teach people how to heal naturally. And it serves my purpose. I feel great about that. But like you said, there's just like, there's the ups and downs and whatnot. Like, that's the purpose for now. And I'll continue to do that as long as my body, feels right within my body to do so. But that only reaches a certain audience in San Diego. And to really make change, you got to go, as worldwide as possible, and, impact people with, what are the things you can do on a daily basis to get your life, get your health unlocked, and, raise the consciousness, raise the frequency of, our planet, and just get everybody being more energetic, and not this like, hey, I'm going to sit down and look at a screen all day, and you go to hang out with friends and it's just like everybody's disconnected. Like, there's so much to life, and to me, like, I look forward to being in nature with high quality people and having fun.
That's something that I'm on a path with too, is relinquishing the grasp on hustle culture.
Oh yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of, always having to do this extrinsic morning routine. I'm not always about like rise and grind. Like I said previously, I do believe that sleep is the number one drug available to us. And I really push back against that ideology. I don't think that you have to be miserable in order to be a high performer and create something meaningful. What are your thoughts on that? Because you're not working hard enough. Your business isn't, you're not making this much money because you're not doing the thing. It's like, I know a lot of really wealthy people that are sick and miserable. I know a lot of people that have great health that miss it on relationships and the balance of life, that are also very miserable. And so it's just like, you look at the dosages associated with all the spokes in the wheel, and it is like, oh, this week I spent more time on business and fitness. Oh, I need to put more stuff into my family this next week. I need to put more water into my spiritual bucket this week. I need to put more water into my like personal time. And maybe it is Netflix and chill every now and then, but that just gets like bastardized.
No. So we won't say the name, but we're talking about a high performer, a very prominent figure that I recently adjusted. Mm-hmm. and you talk about someone that has access to like all the things, you know, like just every single, you know, biohacking tool, all, you know, everything possible. But if you don't allow your nervous system to just simply be able to sit there and relax, like, can you just go, you know, go hiking without your phone and just like sit there for a while? And you were talking about my relatives in, you know, Croatia, like the lifestyle there is really, really chill. You know, most of them, they're not hustling and bustling to like, you know, have this, run into business, go to there. It's just like you chill, you know, you wake up, you don't go to the gym, you have your espresso and your cigarette, you have pretty much the same breakfast, you know, over and over again. You hang out with family, you know, you're somewhat active, but it's not this like culture of like, I got to run around and I got to go. And I have people come into the office and it's just like, hey, just like relax. I'm like, I don't know how to relax. I don't know how to relax. I drink my green juice. I go to yoga, I don't know why my back hurts. It's like, I know why your back hurts. It's because your foot is on the gas pedal nonstop. And it's an addiction because for most people, that's their place of safety. So if that's all you know, if all you've ever known is stress, that's where you feel safe in. So you're going to keep going at that pace.
Do you think it's safety, or do you think it's in search or seeking validation and love?
It can be that as well, for sure. You know, and I've had that as well, where it's just like, hey, you know, let me prove this thing. And then you learn along the way. It's like, oh, you know, you don't need to prove it to anybody. If there's anybody to prove it to, you know, it is to yourself.
I definitely felt that at the creation of the podcast. I used to like try to communicate with people in a sense of like, oh, what's going to make a clip go viral? I felt like I was making connections in order to satisfy the external audience. And that's not to, you know, be disrespectful to the listeners or anybody, but now it's like, I do it for me.
Yeah.
I do it to connect and learn with people. And as a byproduct, I'm like, oh, you might have a similar, a parallel story. You might be able to relate to some of my personal experience. And I think when you do that, you're painting this beautiful canvas. And it's so authentic and real, as opposed to like, if you're trying to satisfy everybody, you're going to fail every time.
I mean, there's a guy, I don't know if you heard of him. He's got a pretty big podcast. And he just kind of chats with friends and people out of interest. Joe Rogan.
Oh, yeah.
He did that. And then I think he grew his podcast pretty big. So
yeah, he's done a pretty good job.
Yeah,
man.
I don't think he was after any sort of, you know, viral clips or anything. But
it's cool to look at how all these things are kind of diffusing and elevating and evolving. And I'm so fucking proud of you, man, because not only are you a man of service, which I think is radical like Jesus, it's pretty cool, but it hasn't been linear for you. Like, you had to go through some adversity, some paperwork things. When you're not from the U.S., you have to go through things
that's
to try to...
That's a whole different story as we're wrapping up the podcast. So I'll tell you.
Totally. And it's like, I'm so proud of you for overcoming those adversities to live life on your terms and create a safe space for you to flex your creative muscle and let your light shine in this new movement center. It's pretty freaking cool, man.
I appreciate it. You got to come check me out in one of my classes, please.
I definitely do.
Would love to have you there. And I just want to say to you, man, I'm proud of you as well for just crushing it and seeing you lighter than before. When we first met, it was like, this hurts, that hurts. Mm-hmm. And you just feel a lot more just happier and lighter. So I'm happy to see you in that state, brother. Totally.
I'll leave you with this. I think this will be a fun thing to kind of cap it off with. The way some organizations categorize fitness is increased work capacity across broad time and modal domains. I don't know if it's work capacity, because I think a lot of high-level athletes, they have increased fitness capacity or increased insert blank capacity in their realm. What I've come to realize is taking the foot a little bit off of the gas in the four walls of the gym or in the concept or environment of fitness, it has increased life capacity, where now I have more freedom and space to connect, like we talked about offline. Once a month, once every couple months, I might go out and grab a couple glasses of wine with some friends. I am traveling and seeing the world a little bit differently. I'm slowing down to observe the birds and how my dogs interact with the world. Viewing and feeling the sunshine, going to healing retreats, which before I'd be like, oh no, I can't go to that, I got to train. That's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. And so for those of you listening, like, I'm all for high level fitness, high level performance, but is it serving the life that you want to live? Because for me, it was in the beginning, and then it no longer was. And if you're trying to go from or that got you from A to B, that's cool. But if you're trying to go from B to C, you actually have to change the script, because I think the saying goes, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always be what you've always been. Oh. And I was stuck in that loophole, that rat race of like trying to prove whatever self-worth to accumulate love. And it wasn't until literally just letting everything go and just surrendering to the max of my version of rock bottom that it gave me this lightness and this beauty of like, wow, we can go dream, play, explore, and discover with the inner child, which gets lost when we're stuck in external validation.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Well said. If I may cap it off with this, you talk about working out. The biggest key is working in, right? So I see so many people beat themselves up. Monday, chest, Tuesday, back. It's like, bro or sister, work in more, right? So proud of you for stepping into, the healing spaces and doing those things. And for anyone out there, find community, find people that are like-minded, that are into doing healthy things. They're going to help you expand. And that's the thing that has changed my life the most. In addition to just believing in yourself and just like getting after it and, riding the waves of life, the ups and downs, and, always just keeping your head up and looking forward. And there's a lot of great things out there. And if you tune into the universe, every step you take towards your goals, the universe will take one step back at you. If you take 2 steps, it's going to take 2 steps back at you. So, but if you take a step backwards, it's also going to take a step backwards. So
that manifesting, the body keeps the score, man. Is there anything we didn't touch on today that you want to highlight before we cap it off?
No, I got to get myself to LA to go watch Luka and Jokic. So this will be released after. I'm going to predict Luka's going to go off he's going to have like 37, 8-8 tonight. We'll see.
I'm so pumped he came to the Lakers.
I'm excited about that too. So
real quickly, I know you got to go. Do you think that trade was legit, or do you think it was to try to boost ratings, to try to get the Mavericks to Las Vegas? LeBron wants to be an owner there. They're trying to kind of tinker with things. The trade really didn't make sense, but I'm seeing all the YouTube videos go viral. Like it seems like there was something behind the curtain that there's
definitely something behind the curtain. Like, you do not give up that. He was what, five years in a row that he was on the NBA All-First team. You don't trade that.
And they got to the NBA Finals last year. He's 25 years old.
Yeah.
And for them to say he was out of shape but played 100 games over 40 minutes, I call baloney.
Yeah. Let the kid drink some beer. Let him, eat his cevapi, which is, a Balkan Croatian dish. But like, something fishy. But, we're the lucky recipients now.
100%. He's
also
local.
The league is too, there's always shady things, the dirty refs and all that. And you hear the stories of like, call this foul. Oh, but don't call that, on Michael Jordan type of thing, or, so the league needed a boost.
Yeah.
Right. Now you have the biggest star, the face of the NBA, which they don't want the Europeans or the, international players. But I'm sorry, America, but your players have been too focused on their TikToks and their Instagrams rather than like being basketball players.
Also, when you look at Luka, he's always smiling. He looks like he's having fun.
Well, unless he's pissed off. And I want to say that about all American players, but there's just like the culture has changed. Like, it's the LaMelo Ball type-esque where it's just like, you're making all this money on these other things, like, kind of hard to get up at 5 a.m. when you're sleeping in silk sheets.
No, you make a really valid point, but his passion definitely bleeds through.
Yeah.
And he knows how to turn it on, turn off. It's really fun to watch. He's by far, like, seeing the combo of him and Austin Reeves is so fun to watch.
Yeah. It'd be like you and I being on the court.
Dude, exactly. I love that. I love that. And also Austin, for him to be undrafted, might be the best undrafted player ever potentially. And now that he's starting to get some accolades, I'm stoked for him. Pressure's definitely a privilege, but
yes, sir.
It can also bust a pipe. And so I'm excited to see him rise to the occasion. And man, I'm excited for this NBA season. Also, March Madness is underway right now.
I'm not a big college guy, but I might watch a little.
My poor
see.
Aztecs got smacked by North Carolina last night. I was bummed about it. But ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Bo, where can people find you?
At Dr. Bo Knows, DrBoknows. ANIMA Movement Center is in Sereno Valley. Just search me up. Once again, if you want to come in for a free class, I would love to have you. Just come check it out. It truly is a magical place. And we do corporate events. I can go host you guys there. I can go speak. Like I'm an educator as well. So if there's any sort of connections there, I would love to just get the message out and teach people how to heal their bodies and optimize their health.
Truly a jack of all trades. Where can people schedule with you if they want to get an adjustment?
DrBoknows.com.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you just go on the Instagram, it's all there. We're building a new website right now, but for now, that's there. Yeah.
I'm pumped.
Yeah, bro. You got to come through.
Stoked to have you on.
You're
today.
overdue for your adjustment, my man. We just sat for 2 hours.
I know,
we gotta
right?
get you adjusted.
Gotta shake and bake. I'm pumped to share this conversation with the world. For those of you listening, if you enjoyed my conversation with Dr. Bo, please rate, review, subscribe, and as always, stay on the hunt for who you've not yet become. Until next time.